Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. This is the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. The Senate in the National Assembly has strongly denied allegations suggesting it is involved in determining its salaries or receiving special fiscal packages from the presidency. The claim, which emerged during a visit by the members of the House of Representatives to former President Olusegun Obasanjo, sparked widespread public debates. A statement released by Senate spokesman Yemi Adaramodu, representing APC Ekiti State South, who disclosed this in Abuja, said the Senate described the allegations as an attempt to crucify the legislature by the centurions of political hypocrisy, adding that no senator has received any financial patronage from the presidency. Adaramodu, who said that the executive arm of the government through its various ministries and agencies is responsible for awarding contracts for constituency projects, while the funds allocated for these projects vary depending on the number of constituencies in each state. The intention is to ensure that every region of Nigeria benefits from federal resources. He reaffirmed the Senate's commitment to upholding the economy and growth of Nigeria, insisting that it only receives what is constitutionally allocated to it and would never seek additional perks from other branches of government. Analyst says the call for the resignation of the Inspector General of Police is a misconception. Speaking on Atlantic Television Network program ATN Saturday, the national president of South South Youth Initiative, Imebi Savior Oscar, said the demand for the sack of Inspector General of Police should include the President Bola Tinubu as well as the Managing Director of Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Mele Kyari, stressing that Nigerians have lost hope in the renewed hope agenda of the president.
Should be first on Mr. President. The call for sack or resignation should also be for the Group Managing Director of NNPC, the CEO of NNPC, Mele Kyari. He actually have to be sacked. He actually have to resign. I think this approach that the protesters proposed will take directly to. This approach is supposed to protect directly to their domain, even to their personal abode. We should protest to their personal house. We should protest to their direct house. Because we are suffering. They have put us in this hardship. They have put us in this sorrow situation. And you say we should not speak because we are afraid of you. I'm not afraid of you. We're not afraid of you. So why shouldn't we speak? This protest should go to the house of Mele Kyari and not to his office alone. Mele Kyari, the group manager of director, the group manager of NNPC, should be sacked, should be resigned. It doesn't mean well for Nigerians. We are aware of this issue between Bola Ahmed Tinubu and himself. We are told that he employed Bola Ahmed Tinubu in Mobile. And that's why Bola Ahmed Tinubu returned him for this second tenure. Or third.
Imebi Savior also advised President Tinubu to resign, considering that his actions are below expectations of Nigerians. This is coming after the End Bad Governance in Nigeria Organizing Committee demanded the dismissal of the Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetoku in response to the killing of protesters. This demand was made during a candlelight symposium held in honor of the victims of the Rights House in Ikeja, Lagos State on Friday. Former presidential candidate Peter Obi has expressed his deepest condolences to the families of those who lost their lives in the End Bad Governance protests. A statement released on X.com on Sunday, Obi mourned the loss of lives, including security personnel who died during the demonstrations, and also wished a speedy recovery to those injured during the protests and assured them that their sacrifices would not be forgotten. The former presidential candidate urged leaders to heed the cries of the people and address their legitimate demands promptly, adding that the need for urgent action to tackle pressing issues such as insecurity, corruption, hardship and poverty, which fueled the protests, cannot be overemphasized. Independent National Electoral Commission has identified electoral offences as one of the major threats to free, fair and credible elections in Nigeria in view of the upcoming Edo State governorship elections. The Commission said the electoral offences have also increased political tension and trigger offence and trigger violence in some quarters of the state. Head Legal Department Legal Services INEC Office, Edo State, Rita Amadi, who disclosed the assertion in paper presented to a one-day engagement with youth groups in Edo State on the roles of youths ahead of the September 21, 2024 governorship election, represented by Oba Agbonifo, a legal officer in Benin State, in her paper titled Electoral Offences and Penalties, said the essence of the presentation was to intimate the electorate, especially the youths, of the existence and applicability of the electoral laws, as well as punishments and penalties when breached. Adding that the prosecution of electoral offences in Nigeria, which has become a Herculean task. According to her, one of the major hurdles against the effective prosecution of electoral offences is the abject inefficiency of criminal investigation in Nigeria, adding that efforts at mitigating electoral offences could only become effective with the arrests, prosecution and sanctioning of offenders to end the reign of impunity. The INEC legal officer said the commission's chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, said although the commission is empowered by the Electoral Act to prosecute electoral offences, it lacks the power and resources to make arrests and thoroughly investigate the offences. They advised all political stakeholders to assist the Commission to fulfill its mandate as an election management body by enlightening its agents, supporters or partners to do away with the do-or-die mentality in electioneering process. The People's Democratic Party has described the Supreme Court judgment granting autonomy to local governments as a potential recipe for trouble. A month after the judgment, PDP National Publicity Secretary Debo Olungbanda addressed a world press conference in Abuja on Sunday, stating that the matter is not yet settled. This is coming after the July 11, the Supreme Court ruled that the 36 state governors can no longer control funds meant for the 774 local government areas in Nigeria. The judgment delivered by Justice Emmanuel Ajim affirmed that the local governments must manage their own funds, reinforcing their financial independence, and also declared that state governments lack the authority to appoint caretaker committees for local councils, recognizing only democratically elected local governments. Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde, who is the Vice President of the Nigeria's Governors Forum, had warned that the public will bear the consequences of the judgment. He added that the PDP is currently reviewing the judgment and stressed the importance of addressing issues of this magnitude through dialogue rather than through the courts. The PDP spokesman said if issues arise within the local governments, the chairman will reach out to the state governments and not the federal government, adding that governors have a crucial role in managing local governments. National Youth Service Corps says Corps members' bank accounts have not been upgraded to accommodate the 70,000 new minimum wage, and no directive has been given by the relevant authority for it to start the payment of 70,000 naira minimum wage to Corps members or to upgrade their accounts. According to a statement issued by the NYSC Director of Information and Publicity Relations, Eddie Megwa, said, the report is misleading and absolutely false, and advised Corps members to desist from allowing mischief makers who are said to mislead Nigerians to continue to play on their intelligence. The statement also said it is impossible for the NYSC to issue any information and mode of communication in the scheme and therefore ignore the directive accordingly. And now on to business news. Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project has urged President Bola Tinubu to investigate the $1.5 billion World Bank loan obtained by the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory. The group also urged Tinubu to probe the alleged mismanagement of the Chinese loans of $3.121 billion obtained by the federal government. Serap asked the president to direct the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Lateef Fagbemi and appropriate anti-corruption agencies to promptly and thoroughly investigate how the loan was spent and thereby reduce poverty and social protection across the state. A statement signed by the group's deputy director Kolawole Oluwadare, Serap said, Individuals or agencies suspected of corruption and mismanagement should face prosecution as appropriate, stressing that if there is sufficient admissible evidence and any proceeds of corruption should be fully recovered. The group told Tinubu that his administration has a legal responsibility to ensure accountability for the spending of the loans obtained from the World Bank, and China do not lack of transparency and accountability in the management of World Bank's loans and Chinese loans obtained by the federal states and the federal government. In other stories, 700,000 manufacturers and micro, small and medium enterprises have expressed intention to become beneficiaries of the federal government's 150 billion naira loan to help businesses in Nigeria to navigate the current economic crunch. The Ministry of Industrial Trade and Investment, Doris Anietia, who disclosed this, stressing that the ministry was working tirelessly to ensure prompt release of the funds to eligible businesses, while over 630,797 citizens have benefited from the Presidential Condition Grant Scheme. This is coming after the December 2023. The federal government unveiled the Presidential Condition Grant Scheme as part of the Presidential Palliatives Program aimed at supporting businesses to navigate the economic crunch caused by government policies, and the fund dedicates 75 billion to MSMEs and another 75 billion to the manufacturing sector. The minister, speaking through her special advisor strategic communications, Terfa Giado, said the disbursement will be done in batches, with the first set of disbursements to commence soon, adding that the government was well aware of the current business climate and created the fund to help Nigerian businesses navigate the harsh economic conditions. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has advised Dangote Refinery and the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission Exchange over the supply of crude to the refinery. Atiku, in a post on his X handle, said the nurturing and development of the 650,000 capacity refinery should be a primary focus, adding that this fundamental principle applied equally to investments, whether they are local or international in nature, and call upon all Nigerians to take resolute actions to provide reassurance that both internal and external forces which are not collaborating to prevent them from reaping the benefits promised by this eagerly anticipated transformative endeavor. The Nigerian Upstream Regulatory Commission, in a statement by its management, said, as part of its commitment to ensure the enforcement of Section 109 of the Petroleum Industry Act 2021, 9 refineries were supplied crude despite low crude oil production, adding that its strategic commitment to Nigeria's energy security had led to the facilitation of the supply of 32 billion barrels of crude oil to Dangote Refinery and other local producers in the first half of 2024. Operators in the haulage industry, including members of the Nigerian Association of Road Transport Workers, have alleged that unchecked activities of the hoodlums on the Apapa, Ijora and Tinkan Mile 2 areas in Lagos State often cause the death of about 40 of their members annually. According to them, the individuals, commonly referred to as area boys, have created a dangerous environment for truck drivers, significantly impacting the trucking business and nation's economy adversely. The executive secretary of NARTO, Aloga Agbogbo, said the violent tactics often deployed by these hoodlums usually escalate to physical assaults as drivers are beaten up, trucks vandalized, and valuable cargo sometimes stolen, adding that the hoodlums approach the drivers, they get on the trucks and start attacking the drivers, asking for money and distracting them. He said the activities result in not only a disruption of logistics and supply chains, but also a significant financial burden on truck owners who must repair damaged vehicles and compensate injured drivers, adding that the numbers reflect only a portion of the true toll, as many incidents go unreported due to the lack of proper documentation and attack on drivers. He also said the psychological impact on the drivers who survive these attacks is profound, as they live in constant fear of being assaulted or killed on the job. While which takes a toll on their mental health and overall well-being, adding that many drivers suffer from anxiety and stress, knowing that each trip could be their last, with ripple effects extending to their families, which must cope with the loss of incapacitation of their primary breadwinners. Federal government has inaugurated a $500 million Japanese International Cooperation Agency intervention project to strengthen power transmission infrastructure along the Lagos-Ogun Industry Corridor. The Special Advisor on Communication Strategy and Media Relations to Minister of Power, Bolaji Tunji, who disclosed this in a statement, said, "The Lagos-Ogun Industrial Corridor is a key industrial hub in southwestern Nigeria, featuring a high concentration of manufacturing industries and economic activities, but facing challenges such as inadequate power supply and poor infrastructure, which the $500 million JICA project aims to address." The Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, who disclosed this while playing host to the Ogun State Governor, Dakwa Abiodun, in Abuja, also said the JICA project aims to boost power transmission and infrastructure within and outside Ogun State industrial corridors, covering Agbara, Mowe, and Shagamu industrial clusters, and will also involve building additional power transmission substations and upgrading existing ones, as well as reconductoring existing weak high voltage power lines and new extensions for capacity strengthening and expansion. He also appealed to the governor to collaborate with the Power Ministry to impress on gas pipeline operators to improve the pipeline infrastructures passing through the state to boost the pressure, quality and quantity of gas supplies to power plants and industries. He commended the minister for the improvements in power supply and urged him to sustain the momentum. The Minister of Environment, Balarabe Lawal, says only 1 in 10% households in the country use clean energy sources and technologies for cooking. Balarabe said implementing the National Clean Cooking Policy of Nigeria would attract about 10 million direct jobs among youths. A statement signed by the head press and public relations unit of the ministry, Ibrahim Haruna, said the traditional cooking with firewood and other polluting fuels such as kerosene and charcoal are claiming lives, causing deforestation, and contributes to the effect on climate change, as well as putting a burden on women. You are still watching news on Atlantic Television Network. Up next, international tidbits. At least 12 people are confirmed dead after a landslide at a massive dump in the Ugandan capital, Kampala. Rescuers are continuing to dig through the waste in the hope of finding more survivors after the landslide, which followed weeks of torrential rain and 36-acre Kitezi landfill is the only one serving the whole country of Kampala, a city home to estimated 4 million people. Kampala Mayor Erias Lukwago said it was a disaster that was bound to happen, while the city authorities have reportedly been trying to find a new site for many years. A huge hill formed by the build-up of rubbish collapsed late on Friday night, burying houses on the edge of the city while residents were asleep. Reports that news agency, while on Saturday, the death toll was given at 8, including 2 children. Kampala police spokesman Patrick Oyango on Sunday said 4 more bodies have been retrieved, while 14 people have been rescued. Oyango said about 1,000 people have been forced to leave their houses because of the landslide and did not specify how many had been living on the site or whether they were living nearby, adding that many people earn through living by trawling through the piles of rubbish, looking for anything that could be resold, while the Ugandan Red Cross has been providing tents to those in need of temporary shelter. The United Kingdom has witnessed a dramatic 35% drop in visa applications over the past year, following the introduction of stricter immigration policies aimed at reducing the country's intake of foreign nationals. According to official figures released by the Home Office, the number of visa applications fell from 141,000 to 91,000 after new rules came into effect in January 2024. This is coming after the policy changes introduced in December 2023 specifically targeted international students, restricting them from bringing defendants unless they were enrolled in postgraduate research courses or government-funded scholarship programs. The move was part of the government's broader efforts to curb immigration, which reached a record high of 1.22 million last year, and the impact of those restrictions have been particularly pronounced in the education sector. The health sector has also been severely affected, with applications for health and care workers visas plummeting by 80% during the same period, which followed a surge in applications after care workers were added to the skilled worker visa category in 2022. Brazilian authorities recovered the bodies of 62 people who died during the plane tumble from the sky. Experts have commenced examination of the doomed aircraft's black boxes to determine the cause of the disaster, and while they have already been identified through fingerprints, with Vinhedo Mayor Dario Pacheco saying they were the pilots and co-pilots. The center chief Marcelo Moreno said the two-engine turboprop built by aviation firm ATR was flying from Cascavel in southern Paraná state at Sao Paulo Guarulhos International Airport, while experts from Brazil Aeronautical Accidents Investigation and Prevention Center have begun analyzing two black boxes recovered from the wreckage, containing cabin conversations and in-flight data. Brazilian Air Force said it plans to publish a preliminary report within an estimated 30 days, while a joint subsidiary of European giant Airbus and Italy Leonardo said its experts will assist in the investigation. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris has condemned the loss of civilian life in an Israeli airstrike against a school building in Gaza on Saturday. The director of the hospital said more than 70 people were killed at the building, which sheltered displaced Palestinians, and reiterated calls for a hostage deal and a ceasefire, echoing comments made by the White House. An Israeli military spokesman said Al Tabin School served as an active Hamas and Islamic Jihad military facility, which Hamas denies. Speaking at a campaign event in Phoenix, Arizona, Ms. Harris said Israel had a right to go after Hamas, but also has an important responsibility to avoid civilian casualties, adding that Saturday's airstrikes had been criticized by Western and regional powers, with Egypt saying it showed Israel had no desire to reach a ceasefire or end the Gaza war. Fadel Naim, head of Al-Hali Hospital, where many of the casualties were taken, said around 70 victims were identified in the hours after the strike, with the remains of many others so badly disfigured that identification was difficult. While a statement by the Israel Defense Forces and Israeli Security Agency said at least 19 Hamas and Israeli jihadist terrorists were eliminated in the attack. President Volodymyr Zelensky has confirmed for the first time that the Ukrainian military is conducting a cross-border offensive inside Russia's western Kursk region. Late Saturday night, Zelensky said Ukraine are pushing the war onto the aggressor's territory, while Russia's foreign ministry says its army will deliver a tough response to the incursion. Kyiv launched the surprise attack and has advanced more than 10 kilometers inside Russia, and Russia says 76,000 people have been evacuated from the border areas in Kursk region. This is the deepest raid into the country since Moscow began its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, while Kyiv and several other regions came under a Russian drone and missile attack overnight, killing 2. State of Assam in India has launched a mobile phone app aimed at reducing deaths caused by wild elephants. The Haiti app will warn people of approaching herds of elephants to allow them to get out of the way. Assam has one of the biggest elephant populations in India and a high number of elephants and human deaths caused by their interactions, while conservationists in Assam because their habitats are shrinking and even their traditional natural corridors are being encroached upon. And now on to sports this evening. Fulham star Alex Iwobi is looking forward to the start of the Premier League season. The Whites rounded up their pre-season campaign with a 2-0 win over Bundesliga club Hoffenheim on Saturday, while Iwobi made both goals for Emil Smith-Rowe and Adama Traore. The Nigerian international declared afterwards that he can't wait for the new campaign to kick off. Still in sports, Chelsea have suffered a major injury blow ahead of the Premier League opener with Manchester City on August 18. This is coming after Chelsea's captain, Reece James, has reportedly suffered an injury setback ahead of the Manchester City clash at Stamford Bridge on Sunday. This was disclosed by football transfer expert Fabrizio Romano in a tweet on his X account at the weekend. James will not be starting the season in good health as he picked up a hamstring strain in training, while the England international missed out on most of the 2023-2024 season after injuring his hamstring multiple times. On to entertainment now. American rapper and record executive Rick Ross has been sued for not making his show wheelchair accessible. A disabled man, Darius Trotter, sued the singer over his failure to make his popular car and bike show to accommodate disabled attendees. Trotter alleged that despite purchasing a ticket and arranging for travel and lodging, he was unable to attend the event at the Cross 235-acre estate dubbed the Promised Land in Fayetteville, Georgia, where the plaintiff, who has been disabled since suffering a traumatic spinal cord injury in 2018, contacted the event organizers 2 weeks in advance to inform them of his needs. Adding to his grievances, Trotter claims that the show organizers had promised refunds to anyone who couldn't get into the event, but says he never received any follow-up or compensation. Nollywood actress Esther Nwachukwu, aka Esther Sky, has expressed her desire to be Senator Ned Nwoko's 8th wife. Esther Sky said she won't marry for love, but money. According to her, I am from a very humble background and I am the only child. And that's the global news for tonight. Before we go, another look at the major headlines. UN probes professor over sexual harassment. Police nabs 4 suspects over court killings. INEC decries threats to fair elections. FG inaugurates $500 million transmission project. Kamala decries civilian deaths in Gaza. Iwobi declares for new season. Esther accepts to be Ned Nwoko's 8th wife. I am David Obasi. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on our social media platforms, Twitter at Atlantic TV Net, Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, Instagram at Atlantic TV Network. Peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Thank you for staying tuned.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-the-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and